Scorn caught my attention all the way back in 2016, with its environments reminiscent of the work of artist H.R. Giger. A lot has changed since this initial showcase, which I was able to experience in an early preview that covers just under the first hour of the game. Scorn is an upcoming horror adventure game by Serbian studio Ebb Software that's set in a grotesque yet captivating universe. With a recent trailer narrated by Hellraiser actor Doug Bradley, and the game being visually influenced by art and film from Cronenberg to Carpenter, it's obvious the development team are dedicated to the horror genre as a whole. Scorn's world is, to put it bluntly, absolutely disgusting. It's a biomechanical world of flesh and machinery in ruin and decay, and it's no surprise that some of its inspirations are masters of body horror. Story-wise, it has a very indirect approach to its narrative. There's no use of dialogue on top of this, so as of now everything is fairly vague, and I have a feeling this ambiguity may persist until the very end of the game. Of course, it's hard for me to know exactly how consistent the rest of Scorn is with the preview. According to the information I was given alongside it, this demo provides a different perspective from that which will develop over time in the full game. You will wake up isolated, weak and disarmed, and slowly gain weapons and items to help you. During my time playing, there weren't any real threats to my character, and no combat as a result. But from other trailers and information, I know there will be larger enemies that will need to be dealt with carefully, given that ammo is limited. That being said, fighting doesn't seem like it will be a large part of the experience. In fact, the devs clarified this is not a shooter. A much more prominent aspect of gameplay is puzzle solving. These challenges are directly woven into the environment, and your progression through it will depend on you learning how these fleshy mechanisms work with one another, as well as your character's body. You'll have to fully explore areas and use trial and error in order to complete a sequence of puzzles and move forward to the next room. Understanding how these machines operate will not only help you to complete the level, but may also give you clues as to what they were used for when they were still serving a long-lost civilization. If you happen to miss something, the game won't help you in locating that final piece, and can be very unforgiving in that sense. But given the environment's tone, I don't think an easier approach would work to its atmospheric advantage. As the player, you're encouraged to spend as much time as possible in each place, not only to locate all of the contraptions you'll need to use to move through the remains of this decaying industrial civilization, but to also appreciate the intricacies of it. It feels like a very unique horror game in that its scares aren't immediate. Its eeriness is suffocating and gradual, as if you're being slowly digested. This pacing works in the game's favour, building an intense feeling of dread that is extremely oppressive. Both H.R. Giger and Zdzislaw Beksiński are cited as artistic inspirations, which is very obvious given the dystopian surrealism of Scorn's world. It genuinely feels like their works have come to life in an interactable virtual form, both in looks and emotion. The themes and ideas behind Scorn are what led the development team to look to these artists, so expect a lot of similar topics and explorations. My encounter with this biomechanical hellscape was unsettling and bleak, and it's stuck with me since I finished it. I think for some players this will be a difficult game to stomach, but there really isn't anything else quite like it. The models and assets of the game are wildly detailed, producing an absolutely phenomenal looking virtual space. The lone weapon I picked up was pulsing with detail, made up of a kind of skeletal frame with some exposed innards. Control panels sometimes require both of your arms to be implanted into their hollowed out molds of what looks like connective tissue and bone. The features are somewhat recognizable and comparable to human bodies, internally and externally, but aren't contained in a familiar form. Instead, they're twisted into a meaty overgrowth, spilling over everything. In order to work with the machinery, your character will need to be equipped with certain tools. This includes objects that pierce through the skin, clamped on with tubes like the roots of a tree. On the topic of body augmentation within the game, creative director Lubomir Peklar said in a developer interview for Unreal Engine that thematically it reflects our world. Technology is constantly augmenting us, and it's so common that we don't even take notice anymore. But if you look closely, you'll notice technological augmentation is everywhere, and it's going to be even more prevalent in the future. The same principle applies to the world of Scorn. These augmentations are quite common in their society. This world presents a symbiotic relationship between organisms and technology, not presented in a clean, shiny chrome format, but instead a decomposing ruin of biomechanical inventions. It makes an incredible effort to be as unpalatable as possible. Your body is as much as a vessel for puzzle solving as the contraptions around you. Most interestingly though, is that there are different ways of solving certain architectural riddles. Ultimately, the one I experienced in the preview had the same outcome, but I'm curious to see if significant changes happen in the final game due to a different approach to a certain area's puzzles. The architecture of Scorn isn't just a collection of structures, it's an ecosystem. It meshes symmetry and asymmetry, levers and living parts to create an organic, fleshy world filled with character. The tunnels are like intestines linking together rooms. Areas look like they have organs and veins embedded into their structures. Its puzzles aren't isolated. They're like parts of a larger body, each with their own function. One such puzzle involves grabbing a contorted humanoid trapped in a shell-like casing. It's clearly in pain as you use the contraptions available to get it out. And finally, once it's broken away from its shell, it's discarded as you only need to take its arm, or leave it trapped in the machinery. These processes are cruel and unfeeling. Flesh is treated as just flesh. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little queasy. You'll notice piles of corpses throughout certain hallways, which makes me think this was some kind of nightmarish factory of sorts. And moments like these really remind me of Beksinski. Its depiction of suffering is very morbid, taking body horror to a whole new surreal level that may be a bit too dark for some people to handle. The game's soundscape is equally oppressive, with no dialogue to inject a presence of humanity into this hellish world. You'll mainly hear the uneasy sounds of your environment echoing through its unnatural halls. With a blend of organic and mechanical audio, every part of Scorn is as unwelcoming as it can be. According to the game's description, it's designed around the idea of being thrown into the world, and you will explore different interconnected regions in a non-linear fashion. This labyrinthian attitude of level design evokes an even greater sense of feeling out of your depth, but one that perfectly illustrates just how harsh this world is. Coupled with the grisly sights on display, it's a very heavy experience that I can see being overly intense should the game be too long. But with that being said, I've been told the final playtime should be around 4 to 6 hours long, depending on how easily the player can complete its puzzles, which I think is a perfect length for this game's atmosphere. Scorn's description also notes that every location contains its own theme, story, puzzles, and characters that are integral in creating a cohesive world. Throughout the game, you will open up new areas, acquire different skill sets, weapons, various items, and try to comprehend the sights presented to you. From gameplay and level design to art and sound, these different elements of Scorn all help construct an interconnected web of simmering dread, allowing you to reflect on the terrors surrounding you. This game isn't a quick flash of a scary face in the dark. It's an ominous, gory monstrosity staring right at you in full daylight, with all its horrific detail. I think a lot of horror titles try to lean into the former to create scares, dissipating as quickly as they occur, but Scorn's approach is something that will stick in your mind like a parasite. In the Unreal Engine interview, Pekla states that overcoming discomfort is an innate motivational factor that Scorn injects into its players. I think in games like this, the gross aspects do risk becoming gratuitous, but if the thought process behind the world and story is as engaging as it appears to be, then I can see this becoming a staple title in its genre. This preview of Scorn is one of the most disgusting games I've ever played, and I really look forward to its full release on October 21st. I'm excited to unpack its mysterious narrative and themes, while taking in the astounding art design. And I can see players who value atmosphere and slow burn horror enjoying this strange world of ghastly organisms and gore. If you're interested in pre-ordering Scorn, and more specifically on GOG's platform, I have an affiliate link in the description you're welcome to use if you want to. Thanks again to Ebb Software and Kepler Interactive for the preview key. And thank you all for watching.